All right, we are live, Mr. Kesler. Ben, timeout. I can't do this. Okay, here we go. Welcome to A Better Way with Canopy Mortgage. I'm your host, McKay Scholl. This is our inaugural episode, and we are privileged today to have Mr. Landon Kesler join us. A little bit about Landon. He is a basketball extraordinaire, played a lot of hoops, has many sons who are state champions as well. When I say many, Landon has got 10 children, right, Landon?
That's right. I only have
Amazing.
3 boys of those 10, so not as many boys as girls.
All right. Perfect. And Landon, you are with Idaho First Mortgage. Is that correct?
That's the name of our brand, you bet.
Perfect. And how long have you been a part of Canopy Mortgage?
Yeah, I believe it was
now.
the spring of 2019 when we partnered with Canopy.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're excited to have Landon on the show today. He's got an impressive background. Little known fact about Landon, he was actually on Family Feud. He and his family, when was that? 2012, Landon?
That was back in 2012. Doesn't even seem like that was real.
All right. So Landon is no stranger to the limelight. So we will continue on and pick his brain a little bit. So we're excited to have him. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a little time with us today.
Yeah,
so
always a pleasure. Thanks,
Landon. Could you provide me with a little bit of background as far as your roles and responsibilities there at Idaho First?
Yeah, so me and one other partner, we created the brand of Idaho First Mortgage. We partnered with the bank when we first started this brand, and then when they decided to no longer be in the mortgage business, we had to find a new partner, and that's when we found Canopy and partnered up with you guys. With Idaho First Mortgage, we just wanted to create it's obviously a branch of Canopy, but we wanted to create an environment and a place where people could come and get a mortgage and just have an incredible experience. And we knew the only way that we could have that experience for our clients is if we were in complete control of that process. And so we set out to start Idaho First Mortgage so that we had our own operations, our own systems. We basically were in complete control of the loan process. And so, my role, I'm a producing, branch manager, I guess, if you want to give me a title. I still do loan originating activities. I manage our operations, and by manage, I mean, I'm just here to help support and encourage them to be the best they can possibly be at their role. And of course, they're helping me in my pipeline. But we've got a few other loan officers on the team that I consider myself a support and a mentor for them. And so I spend a lot of my time just helping them with their files and what I think they should be doing to help continue to grow their businesses and try to, get to a place in their career where they want to be, set goals for themselves. And I help them try to achieve those goals.
Awesome. Thanks, Landon. One of the things, Landon's been here almost 4 years now, I believe, with Canopy. And he's always been near the top of the leaderboard each and every month. And Landon, if you could kind of share with our listeners, what are some of the key strategies that you've implemented over your career to be one of the top dogs in the business?
Well, I always tell people that ask me questions like that, like, I didn't really ever set out to be, quote unquote, a top producer or, the number one. It feels good. And I am a competitive guy. So when you send out those top producer lists, it's always fun to see your name at the top. And when you're not the top, there's a little bit of a dagger there. It's like, man, what are these guys doing that I'm not doing to get those numbers? And so it's just a healthy competitive thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said before, I set out to try to create a lending experience that was just unrivaled. Nobody can really compete with it. And in my marketplace, if you say you can close a loan and you close that loan and you do it in a very efficient and timely manner, people remember that, and they send you business and they send you referrals. And of course, you create a great experience for your clientele. So now they want to come back to you when they have another opportunity to get a loan, or they're sending their friends and family. And so I've just built a business of referral and repeat business that has, obviously when those 2-3 years there where it just was mayhem. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing that we were doing. It was just, I had a big enough sphere and pipeline and past clientele that it just generated crazy volume. And that still happens, just at a lesser degree. But the key is just to continue what we did to get to where we got to. And if you could just continue to do that, the volume in business comes. And that's really, there's really no secret to it. It was just creating an experience that's hard to replicate by anyone else. And people notice that it's different when they use our branch.
It's impressive. As I've watched, Landon has done hardly any outside marketing, and all of it has been referral based, which is just a tip of the cap to you. You run a very, very well organized, well oiled machine that in the end results to having more referrals, friends and families. And to me, at least from the outside, it's kind of been your bread and butter.
Well, it takes time, and you have to build that trust with people. But man, once you do, the loyalty is just so strong. And yeah, I've seen realtors come and go. I've seen, people experiment with other lenders because they're shining, or they're, dangling some shiny object in front of them, something new and exciting. But, we just stick to what has worked and stayed consistent with that, and tried not to veer too far away and get caught up in some of these other, I call them gimmick marketing and whatever. But I try not to get caught up in that. And then, realtors come back. Ultimately, they have a bad experience with someone else, and they end up coming back, and you just continue to build that trust and that relationship.
Very impressive, my friend. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I've been in the industry now, closing in on 20 years, almost 20 years, and by far, I would say this year has been the most challenging environment that at least I've ever witnessed or been a part of in my time in the mortgage industry. And so one of the questions that I wanted to ask that I think would be of interest to our listeners is, what advice would you give to loan officers who are navigating this difficult current environment that we find ourselves in?
Okay, so this is advice that I'm giving to myself too, because I hear you. Like, I've been in this business since 2006. We went through some challenging times in late, those 2008, 9, 10. I mean, the volume was slim, right? And it was survival of the fittest then. And I would argue that it's even more so now. You just have to survive right now. And I'm telling this to myself because I've never been more frustrated in the mortgage business than I have been this year. And there's so many variables to it. It's not just because we're in a high rate environment. We're also in an environment where people have more time to analyze files, whether that's underwriting, post-closing, QC, investor. I mean, everybody has more time. And not only that, but people have been getting burned in secondary by files. And so the scrutiny is off the charts. And that's good. That's fine. And it's healthy, but it's something that you as a loan officer have to adjust to. We have to be better at our jobs up front. So we can be frustrated, but it's not like people are making up new guidelines. And so that's a reminder I have to tell myself all the time, is like, these aren't new guidelines. Yeah, I'm doing things that I used to do in previous years that, well, for whatever reason, we weren't doing for 2 or 3 years. And now we're having to do them again. So the biggest piece of advice, and I'm telling the guys in my office, like, look, we got to just stick through this year and maybe in, most of next year, and get through it. Whatever that looks like, as lean as it might get financially with revenues or incomes, like, if you can just survive through this, we're going to come out and it's going to be gangbusters again. I'm just convinced of that. And I'm excited about that, but there's going to be some pain to get there for sure.
Absolutely. And I think as I've had the opportunity to talk to a number of top originators, and you are certainly a good example of this, is just remaining positive in this environment. There is so much negative noise related to our industry. And I think in addition to what you're saying is just keeping that positive attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's still so many really great reasons to buy houses and to buy real estate and to need our services. And if you get caught up in all the reasons why you shouldn't, then yeah, you're not going to get the business. Like real estate agents and borrowers and clients want to be interacting with somebody and people that is encouraging them that this is still, and we're not lying. I don't want someone to jump into a mortgage just because it makes me money. Real estate has proven year over year over year that it's a great investment, and the sooner you do it, the better. And so, yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of great reasons to be needing a mortgage and buying real estate. So our services are needed. Yeah, the numbers are getting smaller as to who can provide those services, and that's okay. At least with me. I mean, the competition is going away slowly and surely. And then, like I said, if you can survive through this, you're going to be one of the few survivors, and there's going to be a lot more business for you on the other end.
More market share for wonderful individuals like you, Landon. So one thing that some of our viewers may not know, and you very well know, is here at Canopy, and obviously your brand there, Idaho First, we use our own proprietary loan origination software, which is known as NANO. Can you tell me about your experience using NANO, and then maybe highlight just one of your favorite features within that software?
Yeah, hard to narrow down to one feature, but I'll give you my experience with NANO. I don't know that we would call ourselves ground floor, but when we first started with Canopy, there have been so many updates and changes to NANO, and all for the better in improving the software. And that's what I love about what Canopy is doing with NANO, is it's constantly evolving to make our lives easier, not for any other reason, but to make the loan origination and the processing of a mortgage easier, faster, more efficient. And that's just been my experience from day one. And I can't remember the number of loans that I was doing in a given month, but there is no way I'm doing that volume in the number of hours you have allotted to you in a day if I didn't have NANO. If I was still working in Compass, or I've been in Calyx, I've been in, what was it, PCL, I think is what, Movement Mortgage. Anyway, working in those systems, there's just no way. I mean, how quickly you can put a loan application together, get it to a status of being able to send disclosures so fast and efficient. And then, of course, my operating team being able to operate within the documentation system. And I don't know, sending documents like closing documents in a click of a button versus, 24 to 48 hours is what most, operations need to send closing documents. It was a game changer, and I didn't know that it would be a game changer for me until we got to those volume levels that we were experiencing in 21 and part of last year. My favorite feature is just the sending disclosures. And the reason I say that, I mean, there's a ton. Like I can look at side by side scenarios, and I can, all this stuff. But like, there's some mortgage coach aspects to NANO. Anyway, when I was working in my previous environment with Encompass, you either had to send your request for somebody else to send your disclosures for you, or if you wanted to do it yourself, you were going to spend the next hour just checking all the boxes, making sure this was right, and then it wouldn't let you send them unless you had it right. There was times I was, once I would send a request, it would be 24 to 48 hours before my disclosures were sent to the borrower. I mean, literally now I can lock my loan and send disclosures in less than a minute if I've got everything set up and my fees page right. So yeah, that's my favorite feature. Just being able to send disclosures at a click of a button.
Awesome. Like, and I think that is internally one of the favorite features, because it seems as though a lot of competitors out there have entire departments that are dedicated to disclosing. So I think that's a great feature to highlight, and certainly in coming episodes we'll dig deeper into Nano, and so thank you for sharing. So one of the thoughts that I've had, and I've seen this a lot with AI coming, it seems like that's a new hot button topic out there among the industry as well as just worldwide. But from your vantage point, what trends do you see shaping the mortgage industry here in the next few years? And whether it be by way of technology, systems, processes, just curious to pick one of the best minds on where we're headed.
Well, I don't know that I'm one of the best minds in that arena. I'm a little bit old fashioned when it comes to this business. I love the technology. I love, what they're doing with Nano at Canopy. Clearly that helps us do our job. AI, I feel like a lot of people are trying to figure out how can we take the human element out of a lot of the things that we're doing in business. And I hesitate to get on board with that idea because I feel like there's just so much that you lose if you take the human element out, the experience that people have in one of their biggest financial transactions that they'll ever make in their life. You need someone that you can trust and hold your hand along the way. Now, would I like to step out of it more and more and let just systems and everything take over? Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of that happening. There's a lot of tools you can subscribe to that just automate certain things. And I'm 100% on board with that. But you as a contacting and human have to be there and available for your clients when they need you. They can't be chatting with some AI bot on the other end. They can't, call somebody that sounds like you because you got some AI impersonation of yourself. It could go there, I guess, but I hope it doesn't. I don't really keep up with a lot of the trends in that regard. I know there's a lot in our business that's going on, but I think, like I said, old fashioned, let's use the tools that come along that make our job easier and more efficient. But let's keep the human element as much involved as we can.
See, I love that. And I think so many times people feel threatened by technology that it's going to replace my job or our job, or the loan officer will become obsolete. Really, the way I see technology shaping this industry is allowing us to do what only humans can do. And that's interact, that's deliver that extra phone call, that extra personal touch, showing up to a closing. AI just at the end of the day can't do those things. And you're a great example of delivering a really, really solid client experience, and it's the proof's in the pudding. You've been in the industry now since 2006, you said earlier,
yeah.
and you've thrived. You've been a top producer, and so I'm excited to see where you continue to soar, Landon. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to watch you work and to grow. So I just can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on today's podcast.
Well, absolute pleasure. Anytime, McKay.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day. And thanks again, Landon. You're the man.
You bet. Take care.
See ya.